We all love watching tutorials that help us step by step build a complete game. At a first sight they seem heartless, but they aren't. Sometimes tutorials make us fall in a kind of hell without us even realizing about it. Today we'll dig deeper into this topic and actually come to a solution. Let's start. 1. What the tutorials hell is. Of course all these videos are going to be talking about the tutorials hell, so it is super important to define what actually the tutorials hell is. So in short, it is the cycle in which somebody enters when spending more time and efforts in tutorials than in real practice, and practice that doesn't follow a tutorial, I mean exactly. So basically I understand that you may be here on this cycle because you search there on YouTube how to make a game and tons of amazing videos pop up. So there is a lot of excitement in your end because there are tons of games you can easily create by just following a step-by-step tutorial. And of course the excitement that you get when finally the game is working and the only thing that you did was to follow a simple step-by-step tutorial is a lot. There is nothing bad with that actually, but by just copying and pasting you're going nowhere. In real projects that basically you create yourself, either to sell them yourself or to sell it to some kind of client, company, etc. There is no step-by-step or follow-along tutorial that exists. Of course, you may still use tutorials and other resources, but you are not going to find some kind of guide that tells us, okay, follow this step by step and you will have your project. It doesn't work like that. So when you actually come to a real project and you yourself have to plan how to structure your project, where to start, where to continue, how to deal with the different errors, of course everything is a mess because you are too much used to just copying and pasting what you see in a tutorial that seems like being perfect because it has no errors and the only thing that you do is following it step by step. In conclusion, the problem of tutorials is that if we stick too much to them, we will get too much used to the step by step and follow along pace they follow. And this pace in projects that you will create does not exist. The problem are much on ourselves than in tutorials themselves, okay? Here let me ask you this, if you opened a blank, empty new project, would you be able to still code there a game, add mechanics, solve errors without actually having to follow a step-by-step tutorial? Difficult if you are used to having all that provided by a step-by-step tutorial. Now I hope that my point is clear enough. Now that you correctly understand everything, let's get to actually how to escape this system. 2. How to escape it. And basically here you have to avoid only following the step-by-step that tutorials provide. And here there are two ways of escaping this hell. Basically create a game by parts. Use different tutorials, basically different videos even from different creators to create a game, instead of just looking for some comprehensive tutorial that has everything that you need. For example, if you want to create a platformer, instead of looking for a tutorial that maybe is 1, 2, 3 or even more hours, that is a comprehensive course, okay, about how to create a complete game with the pace of the same instructor, etc. Try to build those mechanics required for the platformer from different tutorials, okay, and try to merge them correctly. Basically, for example, use a tutorial on how to create and set up the project correctly, then use other tutorial to create the player movement. Now when you do have that, look for other tutorial and learn how to create the platforms for the game. And once you do have your player movements and the platforms, look for other tutorials and study how to create collisions between your player and your platforms. Basically the thing here is that you will be able to put together different elements instead of following a previously created guide that seems like perfect and has no errors, because you will easily get to the point that when you want to merge these mechanics from different tutorials, as the YouTuber there wouldn't actually show you how to connect these different mechanics. There is where you will actually have to think yourself, okay, and you will actually have to deal with errors yourself, and this is super different from just following a step-by-step guide. And that's actually what would happen in projects that you want to build yourself. When you are actually building projects yourself, that basically you want to publish yourself or that you want to sell for somebody, you will of course sometimes use tutorials, but you aren't actually going to find some kind of full tutorial on how to create the game that you're going to sell or publish. That would be completely no sense. On the other hand, you will look for specific tutorials about a specific mechanic that you want to include in your projects, or basically try to solve a specific issue that you are facing. So basically here what we are doing with this system is looking for specific mechanics that we want to have in our game, such as player movement, collisions, platforms, etc., and then putting everything together in the same game. And that practice, it is much better than just following a step-by-step guide, because in a step-by-step guide there is no place for errors, issues, or things that you have to do completely alone. Whereas if you have to include and put together everything, you will there have to use your own logics and thoughts in order to overcome that problem. Basically, that was the most important point. And also, secondly, you have to focus more on practice yourself than tutorials, okay? Basically, by watching tutorials you will gain interesting knowledge, okay? So instead of trying to look for more tutorials on different game genres, etc., start using the knowledge that you already have and apply it for different projects. So for example, if you do know how to move a player, okay, instead of creating dozens of games just using that same player movement system, try to have a project that you code yourself in where you are able to move your player, but also in game, okay, you are able to modify, I don't know, the speed of the player, the color of the player, the skin of the player, etc. So basically there you will be expanding your knowledge and the project yourself, okay? And then if you do need some help in the middle, for example, you don't know how to change the skin of the player, of course you can use a tutorial, but that's going to be a completely separate tutorial that you will have to put together with the project that you had already created. And again, that's the same practice that I told you in the previous point. So basically I understand that maybe you are in this cycle and it is quite difficult to firstly recognize that there is a cycle, a hell or something here. And then even more, it is more difficult to actually escape it, okay? Because I understand that excitement that you get when you look for a tutorial, you finally find it, you just follow it, and there you have your completely playable game, and you didn't really have to fight a lot because you didn't have to face any kind of issues because the guide was already provided. I understand that that is super good. Well, then if you actually start creating real projects, you will understand that you had fallen into a hell, okay? So I hope that now with these tips you are able to escape it. So this is basically all for today's video. I hope that again both the explanation about what the tutorials held is was clear, and also that the tips that I provided about how to escape it were clear as well. So if this video was actually helpful, okay, please consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video as well. And also if you want, you can leave me in the comments what other video you would like to see in the channel. So basically, see you in the following video, and bye bye, have an amazing day.